So we'll start with this video, which is about 2 years old, where James
Yeah.
Gunn explains the first phase or the chapter one of his new DC universe.
Mhm.
Okay.
Jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure. Hey, everybody, I'm James Gunn.
Are you able to hear the audio?
Yeah, I can hear it.
I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. And then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay, next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
So this was published on 31st January 2023. So about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, I think so a few of them are released, like up to Superman, it's released. So he mentioned about
I,
the Superman Legacy. So that's actually the Superman that was released this year.
yeah. So the things you mentioned before that also has been released,
Yes, things like Aquaman 2, Flash,
and all of
those
this
are
will be connected.
no so initially he mentioned that some of the DC movies such as Joker and the Batman that came out with I don't know whether it was 20 to 21 or 22 that has that actor, I forgot his name. What is his name? The
Robert
one,
Pattinson.
yeah, Robert Pattinson. So he said that that is not part of the DCU that he is making. He says that anything that is not part of his DCU, he labels it as DCU elsewhere. So there's one thing he mentioned that the Flash will like reset the timeline for everything. So I watched the Flash, but I don't remember. So maybe I'll have to watch it again, and maybe in this context, I'll be able to understand what he said about that.
Yeah, again, I think this kind of universe, I think it will have the same problem as what Marvel has to some extent.
Such,
Like
what do you think?
there will be too much to keep up with, and not everyone is interested in everything that comes out. Like I
Yeah,
watched
that,
Superman, but I have no
yeah,
idea what the others are that have they have released already.
yeah,
So yeah, and I think some really people who are interested in comics and who have the context, they already know what characters already exist in the universe and stuff. They might find it interesting. For most people, in terms of entertainment, like they know the major characters and they will probably watch those movies. But unless the movie itself is so good that by the word of mouth, people are compelled to watch it. But most people will not just watch because it is part of DCU or something. I don't think so.
yeah. Even I agree to that. Means that's I think they have kept that in mind because there are different kinds of target audience that they do. Because uh, if they only thought about the core audience, then they wouldn't have to do any marketing at all. But like because before the Superman movie was released, there was a lot of marketing, a lot of videos that I saw. So someone who is into those kind of things, they do not require that much of marketing, but they're also bringing in the general audience. And most audience, they just come into to see what's popular there, and they see it, they enjoy it, and they go. They're not too
Mm.
much invested into the extended universe, the whole story, why something's happening, something's not happening. So there's different kinds of audiences. So they're looking into multiple perspectives. But for those who are into, so for those who are into the more focus on the extended stories, so the relatively unknown characters, those are not going to be a major problem. So the major problem or the major issues that they mention about is how well they're telling the stories. That's the major problem that they speak about. Like for example, the Snyder's, what people call it, the Snyderverse. So most of the people that were complaining about Superman was that it was not see, the general people, they'll see action and that's fine, that's over. But the people who are actual critics, they say that uh, Superman is meant to be a symbol of hope and those kind of things. But the kind of actions that he did, that Henry Cavill's Superman did not symbolize the original purpose of Superman. So that was not accurate to the comic books. So those are the kind of criticisms that they have, which
Mm.
I think I have seen quite a few videos while this new Superman was released. There are this compare and contrast videos that this James Gunn's Superman was saving squirrels and everything, while on the other hand, Henry Cavill's Superman, he was just, the word that people were using is aura farming. It's like, okay, like it makes me look cool, so I'll do it. He was not about
Mm.
saving lives. So those those were the kind of disappointments that people had. So yeah, also, yeah, that is one of the things. Like it depends upon the kind of audience that they are trying to target.
Yeah, and also, but also like if you make it too connected, then even if you go to watch one or two movies you're interested in, there might be topics there that will reference something else you'd not watch, and that might take away from the experience.
Yeah, I think so. I can agree that it might take away from the experience. But at the
Mm.
same time, okay, but I have seen that movies are made in a sense that uh, they have a single movie has a bigger part to play in the overall story, but it is also a self-contained story in and of itself. So that is a difficult mix to maintain, but I think most movies can do this. Like recently, I watched Captain America: Brave New World. So it's been a few, yeah, like okay, someone who has watched every single movie will have an idea about, will have a better understanding about what's going on within that Brave New World movie. But suppose if someone hasn't watched a movie, I watch another MCU movies, might still be able to get some idea about what's going on. Like it's a person. So there is the new Captain America, and then there is this new president who actually even I haven't watched the first Hulk movie. So there is some connection with the first Hulk movie and this one, and so on. But I was able to get the story that there is the president of the United States is a bit resentful about the Captain America and so on, and he was plotting some revenge. So that was a closed loop story within itself. But again, it was also a part of a bigger story. So there are two things that are being shared, and I think it was also being done a lot in the older series, like in general, like uh, for example, like if you look at like Tom and Jerry, that's not a good example, but suppose Tom and Jerry series, like you don't have to follow the whole series to understand what's happening. You can say that there's a cat and mouse and they're just running in. So, but there's also recurring characters. So you can watch any episode in isolation and still be able to understand what's happening. But that's a very simple example. A more complicated example would be Star Trek. So Star Trek episodes, what it has that there is a big story that's going on. And it's not just Star Trek, but like older series, like more than 10, 15 years ago, before the series. So the kind of series that we have are these days are like 7 to 8 episodes. But earlier the series had like 20, 25 episodes. So those kind of series, what you can observe there is that each and every series, each and every episode was self-contained. Like there was a single problem, the characters solved that single problem, and they went on. But the whole season also had a bigger story that was that was solved each and like each and every aspect of it was solved in a particular episode. So I think a similar thing also happens in movies. So for
Yeah, so
the
that is what I was
yeah
thinking actually. This kind of they're using words like extended universe, cinematic universe, and stuff,
yeah
but these are more almost like series, like TV series. So, for example, if someone watches Game of Thrones, they will not start watching Game of Thrones from season 7. If they are watching Game of
yes
Thrones, they're watching it from the first. And
yes
maybe there are certain plot points at certain points that you find boring. You can skip them. You can skip certain episodes. You can skip certain parts also.
mm,
But overall, you have to watch the whole thing.
yes
And similarly here also, I think these are basically series that like you have to watch them like TV series. You can skip few movies here and there, and at least still you will have to know about the characters and stuff to actually completely enjoy all of it properly, because the overarching stories are all connected, since that is what they have tried to create here.
yeah I think so that's correct. Like for what you have done here is that like chapter one. So whatever movies and series that he has mentioned. So for a complete appreciation, you will have to watch all of it in sequence to understand it. Yes, that is true. That has to be done. But suppose have you watched any of the Star Wars movies? Star Wars movies?
I've only seen the Star Wars Mandalorian.
Yeah. So how much have you understood by simply watching that?
Nothing. I just know like the story they're trying to tell in that series I understood somewhat, but
Yeah.
any other connections they were trying to make with anything else I don't understand.
Yeah. So
Before that, I did not even
that's
know what that ugly looking doll was.
that green color thing.
That Yoda, baby Yoda.
Yes. 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 So for example, like if you haven't watched this, so the thing is that there are certain things that are part of the universe. Like for example, you have to suppose there are certain sometimes you can watch them and understand a bit of it, but then again uh, you don't have to watch everything in sequence. Like for Star Wars, the thing is that the first three movies were the episode 4, 5, and 6. So that was the introduction to that. So if you watch only these three movies, and then you can watch any other series and movies, and then you'll be able to make sense of what's happening there in any order. You don't have to watch it in any sequence. Like there are many movies and series within Star Wars, and there is no appropriate, I would say, sequence or series to watch it. You can watch anything, but you have to start begin somewhere, and the beginning is the first three movies because those first three movies will introduce the whole universe and what's happening there, and after that everything is just random because even the movies and series that are made here is not sequential in timeline. Some are prequels, some are sequels, so it's all over the place. But the sequence will be understood in that way. So in terms of Star Wars, that's fine. But like if for Marvel or for DCs, when you have a specific phase, then you'll have to watch those things in sequence. So that is true. So uh, yes, that's true. But But for most people, like if it's a big movie like Superman, Batman, they'll just go watch, have fun, and come. Means they won't. They're more in for the action and those kind of things. Like they're not much into the stories, the symbolisms, and that much. That thing I can. It's more of a trend. Like I think so 2 years ago, this Oppenheimer and Barbie, those were the trends. Like if you ask people who have
Yeah.
watched the movie, just summarize the movie, what was there? They won't be able to summarize much anything. What was the Oppenheimer's movie? What story were they trying to tell there? Most people won't because that was the trend, the hype of that thing, and that's it. And even about Superman, like I was watching someone's reaction to Superman, like they were so happy, like and all everything. But then towards the end of the movie, there's a Superman is having a conversation with Lex Luthor, and he tells about that I am also
Mm.
human, I also make mistakes, and but I try to put one foot on top of the other and try to keep moving. And the reactor said, like, why are you giving motivational speeches? Just give. I so far there was the action. I loved it. Well, don't make it
Mm.
boring. Just start some actions. Then I realized, like, this reactor is just watching this, and I'm not criticizing him, but that's his. That's the
That is what he
so
wants from the movie, right?
that's what he wants from a movie. But that line is very important because that's the whole essence of being Superman. That is the symbolism of Superman. That he is a Superman is a representation of something. That what if a human being had so much power that he could rule over everyone, but he still chooses to help and not being powerful. Like Superman is so much powerful, he could be the most evil dictator in the whole planet. He has that
Yeah.
capacity, but he chose to be a news reporter and help every people. So him delivering that line, I think so that's the essence of the whole movie in that one scene. But that for that reactor, that is the most boring part. He just wants like eyeball lasers and fighting. That's the thing. So there are some people, or at least there are most people that do not go into this more symbolic, meaningful thing. They just want their kids in in an adult's body, which most people are actually. So that's all that matters to them. So for those kind of people, it won't be hard to sell, even if there's not much. Uh, as long as the small story is there, that's fine. So if you look at
Mhm.
this Superman story, what was the story there? There are a bigger context, but if you just look at it as a standalone movie, what was the story there? The story was that Superman was trying to help someone. How did he get captured? Even I forgot. He was trying to do something.
He turns himself in, I think,
Yes, yes,
at one
yes.
point.
Yes, he turns himself in because there's a video of his parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, showing something. So to show that yeah, no, he is safe. So he turns himself in, but then he was exploited. Then he comes out, and then he kills a few people, and that's one. So like someone like a 10-year-old kid, that's enough. And a 10-year-old kid or any general public, that's enough of a story. But then it also sets the scene for a bigger thing. Like the smaller things that they haven't, people may not have noticed that there's the mention of Justice Society. So that's the precursor for Justice League. So since they are at the early stages, they are calling themselves the Justice Society. And towards the end, they have added one more character the character that can make a kryptonite through his own hands. In the end, he was
Mm.
added that the new Green Lantern. He included him. So I think so. Eventually, they'll be calling themselves the Justice League over time. So those are the small things that people may not look into. And even in the beginning, they mentioned they gave a introduction like 300 years ago, the first meta-humans arrived. 30 years ago, something happened, and so on. So those are the contexts. So maybe in the future movies there could be prequels about what happened 300 years ago. But many people may not be able to remember those kind of things. Those happens. And apart from that,
The
when I
brave and the bold. The brave and the bold.
yeah, about this Batman part. So since he mentions that his son will be there in this part, so that means will Batman be old and not be part of the Justice League? So that is to be seen. So it might be very different.
So
This
for example, he's planning to make this movie with Batman and his son. So he is assuming that people would already know the origin stories of Batman. Like at this point, it is somewhat accepted, like it is expected that people know something about Batman and what happened to him and stuff.
yeah
But like the way they're advertising it, or the way or the kind of people they hope they will watch it are people who already have some interest already in this kind of genre. Otherwise,
yeah
I'm not sure how many people still do not know of the origins of Batman, but surely there will be people who do not know, and this movie is not going to be like an introduction point for them at this point.
yeah I think so. Like yes, but yes, because like so many movies, like here his father and mother was killed. Then like he has a rich background.
Mm.
If they again start like if every reboot starts with those kind of things, like I think I don't know how many Batman movies are there so far. Like every time the same thing happens. I'm not even sure. Even in the first, like the Bruce, oh, I don't know Bruce. What was his name? Christian Bale. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight trilogy. I'm not
Mm.
sure even the beginning of that movie had his father. Was there any scene where they showed? I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
Yeah, even I don't remember.
I
But
think
the thing
the
is,
Batman Begins or something is also part of the Dark Knight, right?
yes, there are three movies. The first movie was there. But one thing that Batman Begins showed that most origin story doesn't show is that he went to Ra's al Ghul, who was his master, to learn all the skills and those things. Most people, I don't think they know it. They know that their parents. He had a rich parent. They went to the movie theater and they was killed. And he was then he inherited all the wealth and he grew up and he became Batman. Even in the DCU universe's Batman, that origin story was not told. He simply just became Batman. Those killings were
Mm.
not told. And more importantly, his whole training, how did okay, he is rich, but how did he acquire all those skills? There was no background story. I don't think any movie apart from the Batman Begins has that shown that he went to this mountain, he trained under Ra's al Ghul and became all of those things. I think so. Maybe it's there in the comic books, but uh, apart in terms of
I think
movies,
there's a series also. I think it's called Gotham or something. It shows the childhood of Bruce Wayne.
yes, yes. I think it was 4 or 5 seasons. It was there. So,
Mm.
so those kind of things. So, like most movies, they start with that thing that his parents were killed, then he grew up and become Batman. So, then they skip a lot of the details. So if they're skipping that much of details, so they might as well skip the parents dying details as well. And most people would probably know that. And
Mm.
they may show it as a few as a flashback. I think so in Batman versus Superman they showed it as flashbacks. Like the movie began with him being a billionaire. He was already an adult. And in during the flashback they showed that okay his parents' graves and so on. So I think some of the contexts are still there because it might become impractical for every time if you reboot it and again kill his parents and go like people might get bored. Like
Mm.
people might want a different take on what's happening there. Those kind of
Yeah,
things.
but that is why I'm saying at some point There will be new people, or like children who were born recently, who will grow up and they will have to watch Batman, or they will be interested in watching Batman. At
Yeah,
that point, this movie may not be their introduction point in which they will understand the character. Here it is assumed, I think, at least I don't know what kind of movie it will be, but
yeah,
here it is assumed you know what kind of character Batman is already.
yeah,
So someone watching Batman for the first time, it probably won't be this movie.
yeah. Because now it's about his son, and Batman is at a different stage of his career, of his life, not
Yeah,
his career or his life. So, so yes, it will be different. And I think it also depends upon, like, if you think about it, of course, like there's one way to tell a story, but there are also multiple ways to tell a story. So that's saying that it's not necessary that every time you tell it, like, okay, how his origin story came to be. Like, if you just look at any other characters, like not just comic book characters, like any movie characters. Like we always watch them from certain point of view, like this point in time. Like take any guy, like John Wick. Okay, suppose we know that okay, he's an assassin at this point in time and that one. But there are no John Wick prequels yet. We do not know about his childhood. We know that once upon a time he was a from John Wick 1, we know that once upon a time he was a very dangerous assassin. Then he got married, but his wife got cancer and died, and now someone killed his dog and he's there. But there is no backstory about what was his childhood? How did he become such a dangerous assassin? So far, there's no prequels. I think so. Like someone, there's this movie called Ballerinas, but I don't think John
yeah,
Wick
I
is
watched
there.
it. It's not, it's his there, but it's like a cameo.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a spin-off, not just a direct his backstory. There's nothing about his backstory. Maybe like in the future, someone else will play the role of John Wick's younger version, and there will be a backstory about his origin. But
Mhm.
we do not know about his origin yet. But still, there are four movies, and people appreciate it. So sub characters has to be so in any story, the character is introduced at a certain point in time. It doesn't have to be that every time it has to start with uh, his origin story to understand how he is. And Star Wars is the best example. Like if you watch 4, 5, and 6, you'll have the villain, Darth Vader. Have you seen this? The black person there.
Yeah, I know some characters here and there.
Yeah, Darth Vader. He's the most dangerous villain there. So
Mm.
he just exists there. And yeah, that's the thing. But then the prequel movies, Star Wars 1, 2, and 3, which I think came out after 18 or 20 years after the original movies. That series about the origin story of this villain. But even before the origin story, it was a complete thing. The original three movies, people liked it. But then you can always come back to the origin story and understand those things. So I think so. What? Yeah. Say
So did Star Wars start as a movie, or there was books written before it?
no. There was no books. It started as a movie.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. So the thing is, what I'm trying to say is that sometimes even without an origin story, a character can be understood from a certain point in time, and then people might go back. So suppose someone who doesn't know Batman at all watches this movie, and okay, there's this person who wears a uniform like a bat, and he has a son, and he does those things, and they might understand it. Okay, from this point of view, this makes sense, and so on. But then if they watch some other movies, then they understand, okay, so this is how he became Batman. They might get a different layer of understanding. So it is all means it could be understood even if you do not know the origin story. That's what I'm trying to say. But
Yeah.
yeah. So apart from that, do you have anything else to say? Like other characters, I don't know much. Like Booster Gold, never heard of him. I don't know about him.
Swamp Thing, I only know of something because of this game, Injustice.
Okay.
It's like one of those fighting game like Taken. So it's all the DC universe characters.
Okay.
So yeah, through that game I know, like I've seen quite a few DC characters that are not known in the mainstream, like in the from the movies and stuff.
Okay.
But I have not seen any of them here. Like I think there's quite a few parallels between DC characters and the MCU characters. So there's what is his name? Atom Boy or Doctor Atom, something like that. So he
Okay.
has the same power as Ant-Man. So he can become
Okay.
small and he can become big. So I think similarly there are a few parallels in terms of characters that way.
Yes, because even I have heard that back when they were comic books like 60, 70 years ago, like they created similar characters based on one another. Like DC creates one, then MC creates another. Sometimes MC creates something and DC comes up with something like that. Like even Deadpool was created from Deathstroke. Deathstroke is a villain in DC universe. Like in Arrowverse, he is a very recurring character, Deathstroke, and he is very
Mm.
similar to Deadpool. Like he, if I show you, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So this is Deathstroke. So his mask and everything is quite similar to Deadpool.
Hmm.
Deathstroke and Deadpool. Yeah, those are quite similar. But
Yeah.
uh, but then again, their characters are quite different. Deadpool is he's a very comedic character, but Deathstroke is a very serious character, and he is a villain. So those kind of things.
Okay.
And we have only 1 minute left, so
Mm.
I'll just mention one thing about this Green Lantern. So there are two Green Lanterns that they have mentioned here. So John Stewart is the one that uh, came in the Justice League animated series. Like I don't know if you remember this one. It's just less than a minute. You remember this Justice League?
Yeah, I remember somewhat. So this
Yeah. So
this this Flash. Okay.
this is John Stewart, the Green
Mm.
Lantern here, and
Okay.
and and Hal Stewart is the one played by Ryan Reynolds in the movie, which was a huge flop.
Mm.
So those are the two characters there, and so it will be over any moment now.
Okay.
So I'll just finish it.